And we are on. We are live. All right, thanks everyone for joining for another Lunch and Learn on ACM. Topic I'm going to cover today is ACM collaborations. So let's go ahead and get started. So ACM collaborations basically give you the ability to exchange data between ACM and third-party applications. So I'm going to cover that a little bit. It's a very popular feature in ACM, especially for companies that are trying to streamline their process and how they move information from different systems. So very popular. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple options. You'll see me going between slides back and forth into the application and show you things just to keep it all together. So it is. So this is the collaborations that we have in ACM. They're basically 5 different types of collaborations. And I put this in a list of popularity, I guess. So top is the most popular. LDAP or Active Directory is by far the most popular one that we have there. I would say CSV collaboration would be the second. So this is mainly used to do imports and send data out to other systems. This utilizes not a database, but a file. Usually we call that an Excel file. It's a CSV file, standard format. We can utilize that. SQL also popular. This similar to LDAP will give you the ability to send information into ACM. XML is one that sends information out. And then Oracle would be the, I guess the least popular one. Is very limited. It really depends on customers utilizing Oracle. We don't have a whole lot out there. Again, most popular would be LDAP. So ACM can send and receive data to and from different systems. Really depends. And you see that I put a red arrow there in a CSV because that one is the only collaboration that can actually do both. They can send information into ACM and also send information out of ACM. So it's bi-directional collaboration, okay? And I put the REST item down here to give you an idea. So REST has that ability as well, but it's not a collaboration, so it will be a development needed to execute a data exchange in REST. And REST is not really very efficient when you're trying to do mass updates. So I have a large number of records and I want to update. I would not use REST as an option because of how REST behaves. Okay, so REST is great for decision making. If this record has this condition, I want you to then change it or execute this or execute it. So REST is really good at that. But for lots of data, a large volume of data, that would not be my my option. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at this. I was trying to do separate slides, but it would be way too many. So I'm kind of grouping the way this behaves. So let's talk about the LDAP and SQL collaboration. They basically behave the same way. Configuration is slightly different. So you have a external database. So here's my external database right there. So Active Directory or SQL. Someone is going to interact with that database and send information and update information into that database. It could be my IT personnel creating a new record, right? Or it could be my HR department entering a new employee or terminating an employee leaving the company. So they're going to go ahead and disable that record, right? So that information then is updated here in Active Directory. Then the ACM collaboration, in this case, let's talk about LDAP. So the LDAP collaboration would run, this runs in a schedule. This would run, go into ACM, and then update the ACM configuration database, which, by the way, it runs also on an LDAP database. So ACM uses the same database that Active Directory utilizes, okay? And then with that update, we're looking at a couple of behaviors down here, right? So I could be giving someone a login into ACM. I could give a permission to an operator in ACM, so someone that has the ability to log in ACM and operate the system, right? So I could do all that there. Or plain simple, it could be just a card holder that I'm adding or removing from the system. So the idea is I can go here in Active Directory or SQL and modify or enter a set of information in this database. And based on that information, ACM will collect that information, and the behavior down here for an operator, for a card holder will change. Okay, so I can do things like that. So let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to show you, let's start with LDAP. So I'm going to go ahead and show you here, because this is the one that we don't see much, right? Because it's not always that we have the ability to look at an Active Directory. So what you're looking at right now is a Microsoft Active Directory that I have running in my network. Has a bunch of different configurations in here, a bunch of different groups and users. And some of them start with a familiar name to us, right? Starts with this AVO. So this was a setting, a test that I did between Tyler and I. We were working with a customer that had ACM and ACC, and they want the ability to be able to come here to the Active Directory, give a user, so here's a user down here, give that user a certain set of permissions, and that would translate in permissions and access to doors or even as an operator in ACM, right? So that's all in there. So if you have a customer that wants to do that, make sure that they get in contact with us, with the sales engineering team. We'll provide more detailed information on how to do those things. It works, and it works extremely well. Okay, so for this example here, what I'm going to do is enable and disable an account in Active Directory, and then we'll see how that behaves in ACM. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pick this account that is highlighted down here. So this is the Donald Duck account. If you guys see my presentation, see that I use Donald Duck quite a bit. So he's Donald. He has a set of permissions in there, right? So I can go here and configure all his permissions. In this case, all I want to do is disable the account. So I'm going to right click at it, and I'm going to go ahead and disable the account right there. And you can barely make it because my screen is very small. Sorry for that. But that is a arrow down symbol, meaning this account now is disabled. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch to ACM. So this is my ACM system. I'm going to go over here and go to my collaborations. And I have a collaboration here created. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit of the configuration of that and how that works. So you're looking at the IP address is the IP for my server, for my Active Directory server. This is a LDAP collaboration. So when you first create, let me start this. When you first create your collaboration here, if I click it, you have the option to select what type of collaboration you want to run, right? So XML. I have some in here that are different, so it's just a testing system. CSV has the ability to export. This is to import, those three. Import LDAP, that's the one we're going to use now. Here's Oracle and SQL, okay? So go ahead and cancel that and go back to my LDAP collaboration. So here's my LDAP again. This is the server IP address, my Active Directory server. There's a port in there, and then there is a username and password. Then I can schedule this collaboration, right? So if you come across someone that is using in seconds or minutes, something is probably wrong. It shouldn't be in there. We even ask to remove those options in an engineering team. We'll see how that goes. Not a good way of doing this. Definitely not seconds. Minutes, if you say, hey, I'm running every 45 minutes, or I'm running every 30 minutes because my updates take a very small time to run, that might be possible, but seconds, definitely not, right? So usually you will see something like this. Maybe you run it every couple hours, and this will automatically run, goes into Active Directory, pulls the information that is new in there, and bring it over to ACM, okay? And then I have to also map the fields. Which fields in ACM or in Active Directory I want to bring into ACM. So first of all, I need to point it to what database. In this case, I'm looking into the person table in Active Directory. And then basically, I'm just mapping the fields. For Active Directory is interesting because the fields, they have their very unique names. So first name is called a given name in Active Directory. City is just a L for, I guess, for location, okay? State right there, first name, last name, you see them all in there. So the fields that you add in here, the information will come from Active Directory and populate those fields in ACM. The ones that you leave in blank will not get affected, and you can actually enter those fields manually, and they will not be overwritten by this configuration, by this collaboration, okay? So again, fields left in blank can be manually added in ACM in that record, and the collaboration will not change that data.
Hey, Francisco.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you want to show them in the attributes in Active Directory what those look like?
Mm-hmm. I'll get there.
Oh, cool. Sorry.
All right, no problem. So, okay, so that we're mapping here. Tokens, same way. So then after that, and I'll show you, as Jared just said, I'll show you that in Active Directory just a second, is literally mapping the fields. You just got to go here and look for this. Blob is photos. Not something very popular in Active Directory. They don't store large size photos. So it might or might not have that in there. So if you don't, this will basically be all blank, okay? User-defined fields, same way. Just locate the field that you have in your Active Directory and map that into your user-defined fields. Little caveat in this particular user-defined fields. You need to create the user-defined fields first, and then they will show up over here in this screen, and then you can map them, okay? Rows, same way. If I want to bring rows from Active Directory, I can do so. You notice that I changed my filtering here. This is basically telling this collaboration just to look for groups in Active Directory that it starts with AVO, nothing else. So let's take a look in AD real quick. So this are my groups right here. So remember, you just saw that AVO groups. Those are the groups. So these are groups that I've created in Active Directory that they don't do anything here in Active Directory. They are empty blanks. So here, members of, there's no permission set. So they won't do anything for the Active Directory, but they are a label utilized in ACM to assign certain permissions. So here's the front door. This name's child 1, child 2 is because we were experimenting between ACM and multiple levels of ACC, having a parent and 3 levels down as parent, child underneath that parent in ACC. That's why you see this child 1, child 2, all the way to 4. Okay. Here's the user. If I go into properties and here in attributes, this is where you can see those fields. So if you remember, we were looking, city is a L right there. In this case, I have that as Orlando, is my Disney team. Okay, and so all the fields are here, and you can populate that information, select which fields you want to bring into ACM, and just map those fields, those field names that you see here. Here is last name, right there. Okay, street address, state, and so on and so forth. Okay, so they all in this field, and this can be added. You can add new fields, new attributes to it. So I'm not going to get into this. By the way, this whole part I'm showing you because rarely we got to see this. This is IT of the end user that's going to basically work with our team or with installers or the people who are configuring the system to populate those fields in ACM. So back to ACM again, right? So these fields right here, they will populate this information depending on which fields they want to bring from Active Directory into ACM and where the information is located, right? So in AD, so we'll bring them that over here, okay? Once we have that, couple of things we can do here. I can go ahead and run a preview. This will tell me if that collaboration is running properly. So I'm going to go ahead and run that over right now. What basically does is simulates that collaboration, but it will not execute it, meaning it will run here on screen, but it will not update ACM anyway. Okay, so it's just you will see that that is updates 0. Okay, so no updates. All right, this all looks good. Most important here is this one, no errors right there. So great, this looks good. I can go ahead and update it. So if you remember, here in Active Directory, I disabled Donald Duck account. So let's go back to ACM. I'm going to go to identities, pull up my identities, and Donald Duck still active because I haven't run my collaboration yet. So let's go ahead and run that collaboration. So here's my collaboration. This will run every 6 hours, but I don't want to wait because this is important. He just left the company and I want, or there's someone that just came into the company. I want to activate that account, or in this case, I'm deactivating the account. So I'm going to go ahead and just click here, run. So I can run this manually anytime I need. So this is going to go and run the collaboration, and believe it or not, it's done already. Okay, so collaboration is already there. So if I go back to that account is now inactive right there. Okay, so I can click in the account and you see that is inactive. If I go to the roles, so he's got some roles that came in the collaboration. The token also inactive. If this person had access to the software, token, as you've seen here, PIN numbers, all of it would be inactive by now. Okay, so now that person is inactive, right? And credentials inactive. Great. So let's go ahead and say, you know, it's policy of my company, if you go out on vacation for more than a week, we'll go ahead and inactivate your record. And then when you come back, we'll go ahead and activate everything back. So let's go ahead and activate this account again. So I'm going to go back to Active Directory and right-click that account again and just enable the account, just like that, right there. Okay, so now account is enabled. Great. I'm going to go back to ACM and I'm going to run the collaboration. Okay, right there. Here's the collaboration. I'm going to run that again. And it's done. It's that fast. Okay. So let's go back to that record. And now that record is active. Great, right? So now he has access to the software and he has access to the tokens. No, not really. Tokens remain inactive. By design in ACM, if you reactivate an account, we'll keep the tokens disabled just in case someone messed up and reactivate this account by mistake, right? So we'll give this extra layer of protection. All you have to do is come to the record and then manually just activate that token, hit save. Now the record is fully activated, right? Tokens access everything, okay? So that's how that works. And usually I get this question from partners. So how often should I run my collaboration? Right? Because in my system here, my collaboration is scheduled to run every 6 hours. How often should I do that? Well, it really depends on your system. And the way I would describe is this. You want to go here to the appliance and then into your logs and look for the identity collaboration right there. And what you want to look at it, I'm going to go to the last one. It is look when your collaboration is started. So here it is, started right here. So it started at 12:20, 22 seconds. So this is Eastern time. And it ended, because obviously I'm just updating one record. So it took a second to update, right? But let's say that I have 10,000 items and this is taking an hour to update, and I can see it over here. So my suggestion is always run the collaborations, and that is for SQL, Oracle, CSV, if they're doing CSV current, and LDAP. Run those collaborations a couple of times first, and then get an average for how long it takes to run your collaboration. And my suggestion is double that. So if your collaboration takes 30 minutes to run, I would say don't run more than once every hour then. Okay, so double that amount is a good safe bet to let the system run the collaboration properly, give them a little bit of time to start running it again. Because again, you can always run a collaboration manually if you're having an issue and you need to run this immediately, right? So there is a set of updates. I just got a new employee starting right now, and we need to give that person access to the building right at this moment. Okay, no problem. Just go ahead and run that collaboration right now. Okay? So those are the collaborations. You see here, SQL works in a similar way. I'm going to go ahead and show you another application now on the SQL side. So let's go ahead and I'm going to switch systems on you here real quick and go to this system. Let's take a look what I have in my identities. This one I have really few, just very few. I'm going to go to this other application that I have running in here. Oh, my screen just locked up. So this application here is called Assure ID. So it's a application from HID that allow you to create badge designs, right? So this is a badge design application that you could actually integrate with ACM. So if the customer is looking for an application that has more features and capabilities, well, this probably be one of them. This application is designed to do just that. Just create card format, badge designs, okay? So it has a lot of capabilities around that. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a record in here. So let's say I have a new employee that's coming in. I'm using this application because my badge design, the way that I want is very particular, and this application happens to do exactly what I want. Okay, so I'm going to use that, and through a SQL collaboration, I'm going to capture the information from this application, the user from this application, and send to ACM. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new record here. I'm just going to add very few records in here, okay? So let's go ahead and do photo. I'm going to load that photo from a file. That's the file right there. It's going to capture that image. And let's do like that. That should do center a little bit better like that. All right, so that's the photo. Last name will be Mouse. First name will be Mickey. And he is in the sales department. And the title is he's a manager. City will be Orlando, Florida, zip code 33155, whatever. And I can go ahead and enter all that. I'm just gonna that's it. That's all I'm gonna enter. Okay, hit save. Now I have this record in that, and it's trying to create a badge design right over there. I didn't spend the time to create a nice elaborate badge design. I just want to show you how we can bring this data into ACM, right? So again, this is a SQL database now. So we did LDAP. Now I'm doing a SQL database. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into ACM. Notice that Mickey is now here. So again, clear search, nothing there. I'm going to go to collaboration and go ahead and first I'm going to show you the collaboration that I have here. Very familiar, right? Looks pretty much the way that you saw in the previous one. The difference is with SQL, you can actually have drop downs and you can pick the fields from a drop-down. So I'm connecting to this database. I could pick different databases. My database is called Basic. And then from here, I can just go here and use drop-downs to select the fields that I have in that database. So what you're looking at here is the fields of the database in SQL. Okay. All right. It's all mapped nice and dandy. Great. I'm going to go ahead back to the collaboration again, and I'm just going to go and run that collaboration. I can do a preview, same thing I did in LDAP. I'm just going to go and run the collaboration. Again, this will be on a schedule and so on. So, and it ran already that quick. Again, just one record, right? So, and you can see right here in the comments, it says one record, one update. Most important, no errors. Excellent. Back to the identity here. And now I have a record for Mickey Mouse. If I click on that, here's the picture, name. I misspell manager, as you can see there. Sales, city, everything in here. Right? If I gave them a permission, the permission would show up in here. Token the same way, right? So I didn't do any of that. I just went and created the record very quickly just to show you an illustration on that. Okay. All right. Back to my presentation. So that is basically the collaboration, LDAP, and SQL. They work similarly, right? And this collaborations, once you set, again, you can give them a schedule, and this will run behind the scenes, updating those records. Another one, XML. If you were here last week, I touched on this one in regards to reports. So the idea here is different. Now I'm sending information out of ACM. Previous slide, information is from an external database going into ACM. So I'm updating ACM. XML, the information is in the ACM transactional database. So that's the other database, right? So the transactional database, information is going out. In essence, is this: someone is presenting a card, right? So this, in this example, someone is presenting a credential, a token to a reader. That information goes to the controller. The controller sends that to ACM, records that into the ACM transactional database, and at the same time, there is an XML collaboration sending the information out into a XML receiver. So this is a third-party application, okay? And that XML receiver that is going to deposit that information on a database, and then you will be able to do other activities with that, right? So I can then feed information into different applications. I can generate reports. Really depends on what the customer wants from that point on, right? We've seen customers using more elaborate types of reports where they can report in different concepts on different ideas in our system. So if I want to report on how DORA being utilized for maintenance purposes, for example, right? So I can look into this external reports and very quickly see which doors are being utilized the most. Maybe those are the ones that I'm going to do a more pro maintenance type of application, okay, of program. So that is XML. The other option would be CSV. So CSV is bidirectional, meaning I can send information in and out of ACM. And instead of a database, it basically utilizes a file, okay? It's great for takeovers. That's where we see them being used most. I have this database from this legacy system, and from that I can generate a CSV export. Then we can put this in a format, and from that format we can go ahead and import in ACM, okay? Or I want to export the data out of ACM into a CSV format because this customer needs to use this for a particular particular database that doesn't really comply much either with Oracle, SQL, or even LDAP, right? So it's something different. So, okay, CSV will be the one they utilizes, right? So just to show you here an example, this is what exports out of ACM on a CSV, okay? You have the name is right there, first and last name. There is external system ID. So if you have a unique identifier, the type, in this case is employee. Status one means this record is active. First and last name, address, city, zip code, phone number is all there, okay? Department, division, here's the role. So this is the permissions, right? So I can go here and do that. Here are the credentials. So all of them in there. And then status of that credential, active, inactive, P numbers, if they have one, and then even user-defined fields. So we can have all the user-defined fields in here, okay? So that's exporting data out of ACM, and you always export in this particular format. So now the customer can utilize this to a third-party application, okay? Now, let's say that this customer also wants to utilize CSV to import data. So we can provide a template, and it's a template that looks like this, has one record. So we put this one record in here as a reference so the customer can see how to enter this information. And he gives, here's the first and last name, address, the same things, right? Location, and give them a role, and card number, and everything else in there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try something here on the fly. So we're going to go ahead and import this record into ACM. I'm going to use my own template with this record, and we're going to go ahead and enter that in there. So I'm going to go back to ACM, and this record is called John Smith, which I don't have it here. Great. So let's go ahead and go to collaborations. I'm going to go add a collaboration, and I'm going to call this CSV Lab. And here I'm going to go ahead and pick CSV, and I'm going to use short format. So the difference is on short format, you don't have a whole lot of options. You just pick the file. In this case, it's not going to be any problem because the file is actually an export from ACM. That's my my template. If I need to change, you know, the limiters and text qualifiers and things like that, I can change that all in here. I found this to be less crowded on screen, so I'm going to go ahead and just use that. Okay, and I'm going to go pick the file. Come back here. Let's use that one. Okay, just so I can pick the file properly. There, CSV. So I'm going to use my own template. I'm going to go ahead and activate. I'm not going to change anything. Just hit save. And again, this is my file. So the file is ready. I already have the file in the proper format that ACM will see with the proper headers. And now I'm doing is populated data in there, and now I'm going to import data in. You have to be careful with a couple of things in here. Your unique identifier is very important. In this particular case, I'm just importing one record, so it won't make a difference. But if I'm importing massive amount of records, I want to make sure that my unique identifier is set properly. And that unique identifier sits right over, let's pick Mickey Mouse, right over here. External system ID, that's the field. Okay, if I want to update Mickey now, I would have to enter a record in my CSV file with this value right there, 15 as the external system ID. Otherwise, I will create another record. ACM will duplicate records like there is no tomorrow if you don't have the proper unique identifier, the proper system, external system ID. Very important. By the way, I can have multiple sources coming into ACM. It can be Active Directory, a SQL database that maybe just brings pictures and a few more information from it, no problem. As long as I use the same unique identifier to to all my different sources, LDAP or Active Directory, SQL database. As long as I do that, as long as I have the same unique identifier, I'm good to go. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and run that collaboration. And is done. That fast, right? Just one record. So if I go back here, here it is. Now I have a record for John Smith. And John Smith now is part of staff. Notice that it populates all these different fields in here, all from my, here's the unique identifier of that user. Give him rows. He's got quite a bit of rows in there. And a token. Okay. And you might ask, hey, what about photo? Is that doable? Yes, it is. In CSV, it is. Stay away from it. It's very difficult, not because of ACM, but it's the format that has to be obeyed, or how you have to format the file, the CSV, to be able to link a photo. It's very difficult. So I do not suggest you try to import data photo using a CSV format. There is better ways of doing that. SQL, for example, is one of them. Very easy to import photos using SQL. Very difficult to import photos using a CSV format. But here it is. Here's the record right here. Okay. So let's say that I want to give them a name of a city here. Okay. I don't have that in there. So very quickly here, let's go back to the format, and here in city. Oops. Expand that. There. City is empty. Once again, I'm going to use Orlando. Save that. I'm going to go back to my collaboration once again. And you see how fast we can do this. I have to pick the file again. Okay, hit save, run it. Done. Go back to that identity. And now Orlando right there on city. Okay, I've worked with customers where we updated 7,000 records on a CSV file because they want to update the location, or it was something else too. So they had a couple of things they want to update it. So it was easy just to do a data export, fix the records they want to fix, and then just re-import it back. Okay, very easy to do it this way. So that's CSV import. Let's go ahead and go back to the presentation here. And just to complete here before we open for questions, there is a lot of, we have manuals, we have documentation available for this. Contact your sales engineering team if you need any assistance. If the customer is doing especially for LDAP collaboration where IT has to be more involved, by all means, please get us involved. We will assist. We have been doing this for a while. We can definitely assist them to do, to create a proper configuration on that. Just to show here, so we do have videos on those. So here is our, let me go back to our folder here. So here's the folder. LDAP collaboration right there. We have a couple for LDAP, SQL collaboration. There is a one for CSV, XML. We have all these different collaborations, videos for you too. Here's the XML collaboration too. So we have those videos available to you. Just a matter of asking us. We'll go ahead and add you to those folders. Okay. All right. With that, let's open up for questions. Do we have anything? I see the chat is being busy. I notice my peers here being answering. Any questions that I need to address?
Yeah, Francisco, we answered a couple of them, but you might want to just go back through. I think we got the Maria, MySQL, and Postgres. Basically, yeah. I mean, if you have access to the SQL database, then we should be able to connect to it. I guess the last one there, Francisco, if you want to touch on that. Basically, is there a way to search for all identities that don't have an external system ID?
Let's take a look. is this guy. Let's do this. I'm going to switch systems again, just because our new ACM has more capabilities in the searching field. So we can go here and go to, let's take a quick look here. I think I remember seeing something in here. External system ID, starting with, so if they start with something, let's see, do this will show the ones that don't have. Yeah, I think so. Let's see, these guys are empty, right? Oh no. So if this starts with, let's say that these records are coming in from Active Directory, right? So they usually will start with a number. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one here, 1, 2, for example. So let's see if this works. I'm sure there is a way of doing this. So let's see, 1, 2, at search. No, clear search. External system ID. 1, 2. That might work, might not. We'll have to look into that. No. Okay.
Oh,
So the way that I would do this is this way. I would go in my, I would do a CSV export. Okay. And then once I do that, this is what you're looking at right here. Here it is. This is my external system ID. Notice this. This is all empty. That is one here. And that is all empty.
yeah. Hey, Francisco, Ed and I both found it. So if you change your search value, so leave that external.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, that's right. Duh.
It is empty.
Exactly. There. Duh. Yeah. So this is new, folks, in ACM. So we add a couple of more fields in here in searching capabilities that allow you to do certain things like that, right? So, hey, here's some about tokens. So we add more things in here. So yeah, that's a good one. That's right. Okay. So either I do through here, through the application, or if I want to update, do a mass update, I can do a CSV export, go into the file, and then just look in here and see, you know, here's all my identities and see which ones are in blank. Really depends in which way you want to go. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
He did have a follow-up to that, but I think the answer is you just change the search value to contains and then put in, you know, 1, 2, or starts with 1, 2.
Exactly. Yeah. Contains, let's see, 1, 2, or yeah, in this case, I want to use a start with.
Yeah.
There. Okay. And usually when you're doing this from, let's say, an Active Directory, they will have a, depending which field you have, usually the initial sequence will be the same. So you can go and search on that. Cool. Any other questions here? What is this about? Maria, SQL, Postgre. So you can, is this the question? The Microsoft support is to access our database? Is that?
The question was, can we use other versions of SQL, essentially, not just you know, a SQL, a regular SQL, you know, Microsoft SQL. Can they use MySQL, Postgres, and then Maria, I guess, is a variant of those.
Yeah, it should be able to, as long as you subscribe to a SQL format. Yes, same way for LDAP, right? So it's not LDAP. Usually we think about Active Directory, but any other application that uses the same format, standard LDAP format, you'll be able to go ahead and connect.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last one, that's actually a really good question. Francisco, do you want to touch on that one? Can roles be replaced as opposed to amended?
Can roles be replaced? If they're coming from Active Directory, yes. Because, or SQL, sorry, I keep saying just Active Directory because it's the one that we do most of the time because of the nature of this, but this could be also done in Active Directory. Yeah, in SQL. So yes, you can, because what's going to happen is this. When you, I'll pick Mickey. When the rows here are coming from Active Directory, so let's go ahead and go there. So what you're going to see is, come on. Okay. So these rows that are here, they are actually coming from Active Directory. So if I go to Active Directory, this is what I will have in there. So if I change that in Active Directory, this will also change. Here's the thing. If I try to add a row here manually, as soon as I sync with Active Directory, okay, that row will be gone. Okay, so got to be careful with that. So that some customers like to use this. So we have large customers utilizing that. I have one that has 450,000 records in their Active Directory, and they filter it down to 43,000. That's what in ACM now. And all the permissions for doors and access to the software is done through Active Directory. They literally don't touch ACM for almost nothing. I mean, they'll go in ACM and create the access groups to not create, but then go bind the access group to the doors. Like, so you see here, my access groups. These are coming from Active Directory. You saw in my Active Directory before. The only thing you need to do the first time you create this is go bind the doors and the time you want those to work, right? So once you have that, now Active Directory can take over. You can go in AD and say, add this permission or remove this permission, and from there on, we can control that. So that is good for SQL or Active Directory, okay? So if I have a SQL database and I'm in that, because maybe that's my HR running on a SQL database, and in that I have permissions to access doors, I would know why would you do that, but if you do, okay, great. Then they could use the same principle because the mapping is pretty much the same way. You can go and map a SQL database the same way you map on Active Directory. Okay. Any more questions in there? I was trying to get into here just to show rows. Let's go here into collaborations, and here you would be here in rows. Pretty much the same way. All I have to do is just select the field that contains that row that I want to assign in ACM. Okay. So if you notice, these screens are pretty much the same way. I can go ahead and assign permissions to them.
Art, what we'll ask of you for that is reach out to your local RSM, and we can give you guys pricing on that. Because this is a recorded webinar, we're trying to not show pricing. Another thing that's really important with collaborations is the fact that you can run multiple of these collaborations in one system. So if you have a customer that has LDAP and SQL, they're pulling information from two separate databases. You can have both, as long as that external system ID is a field that is mapped in both of those collaborations. Will essentially append the information to the identity in ACM. I have several customers that are doing that. We're seeing that kind of heavily in education, where they're pulling in employee information or staff member information from Active Directory, but they've got a large student information database that's SQL. So they're running two collaborations, and typically what we ask in that case is, so that we don't have the collaborations running on top of each other, is just schedule them so that they're they're scheduled out from each other. However, because we're pulling in data from those two sources, that external system ID is that really important field that has to match between those. Otherwise, you can end up with duplicate records.
Oh yes, you will end up with duplicate records in a very fast way. It's incredible how fast we can duplicate records if you don't program this properly. Yeah, so very important. So once again, that's why I said, if you have a situation like this, please have the partner, the end user, their IT team get in touch with us. We can coordinate that between our sales team, us, and they can put us in contact with their IT team. Just to give you an idea on what we're talking about, just to illustrate this point. So if I go here to my collaboration, this is my Active Directory collaboration, okay? And here is my unique identifier. This is great if I'm only using Active Directory. If I'm using a different system, this is the worst one you can pick, because this is only resides in Active Directory. This is exclusive in Active Directory. This field that you see here, object GUI, and it will not provide you the proper unique ID to integrate with different sources, right? So if I have a SQL database and I have a Active Directory, then I need to pick a unique identifier that resides in both systems. This one doesn't. Okay, so again, have the end user get in contact with us, and we'll be more than glad to help them with that. We've been doing this quite a bit in this. So that's what we said. Active Directory, very popular collaboration in ACM. All right, any other questions?
Yeah, we got one from Jeff. I'd actually like him, if possible, Jeff, if you can come off of mute, maybe expand on your question a little bit. Checkpoint backup that can be tied to a collaboration run. Because I'm not understanding the question.
I could see that as meaning, like, I don't know if this is what you mean, Jeff, but do you mean like automate the system to run a configuration backup before importing large amounts of records, just in case one goes haywire, something like that?
Okay. So you want to do a backup before you do a collaboration? You can, if you time it. So it will be so a couple of ways. All right, so let's take a quick look here. I like his question. So in my backups, right, I can go here in my backup and tell them when I want to schedule, right? So I want this to run when, right here. So if I'm running my collaborations every, let's say, 6 hours, I'm going to make sure that I run 2. So by the way, I can run multiple backups here as well, okay? So I can just have to create a new record. So this one will be at 1 in the morning, okay? And then I'm going to create another one for the same thing, for that same configuration, which is going to run at noon, let's say, okay? And this will be out and run every day. Okay, so I will have 2 collaborations running in here. I mean, 2 backups running here, and I just want to make sure that I run them in between my my collaborations run, right? So again, my collaboration runs every 6 hours, every 12 hours. I will just make sure that this backups are in between that. I hope I answer your question, Jeff. All right. Okay, good deal. Any other questions? Well, okay, so yeah, it would be automatically, because look, I can set as many here. So once you set these backups here, I can make this backup automatically, right? So I'm going to make this schedule every day like that. Okay. And it's going to run 1 at noon, 1 at midnight, let's say. And my collaborations are going to run 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Let's say, beginning of the day, end of the day, right? So if I time that way, then it's pretty much automatic. The only ones that will escape that is if I need to run a collaboration manually here, because I think I gave this example in the beginning of this presentation. I just got someone new into the company and I want to run this right now. Well, if I want to do that, then before I run this collaboration, I can always go into my backups and also run a backup manually right now. Okay, when I do that, it will create a timestamp of right now of that backup. Okay, and then I can go and run my collaboration. So automatically, yes, you will run automatically behind the scenes. I hope I answer your question.
Yeah, that's great feedback, guys. We'll definitely take that up with our product management team and see if there's some additional features that we can add to that. Totally understand. couple follow-up questions in the chat there.
Okay, I'm looking here. Anything else here that I missed? I think you guys answered most of it. Thanks, guys. My team has been pretty active in this chat.
I was waiting for Ryan to answer a couple questions.
Awesome. All right. 3 minutes before the hour. We're finishing a little 3 minutes early. Folks, if there's no more questions, backup should always be operator. Not.
Oh, operator proof.
Oh, operator proof. Okay. I agree. So I think what Jerry says is valid, is an opportunity to send something to our engineering team and say, hey, when you do a collaboration, let's make sure that is a backup that runs before that if the customer wants to do it, right? Might be a good idea to do that. If you're doing a virtual machine, you can always have it schedule a snapshot. Right, so which also helps a little bit on that sense. But yeah, agreed. It's a good one, Jeff. It's a good feedback. Thanks for that. All right, folks. That's a good one, Eric. We'll go ahead and add that as an idea as well for a product management. Good one. All right, folks. 1 minute left. Any other questions? Very well. We end here. So next Wednesday, we'll have another session. Rob, are you on the meeting? I think he just... Yes. You are. Okay. What are we going to have for next one?
We are going to cover lockdowns. So everything you wanted to know about lockdowns, join Wednesday, and we'll talk about it.
What time?
At noon Central Time.
Noon Central, folks. Okay, so Wednesday, noon Central, Friday, noon Pacific Time with Jared. Okay? With that being said, folks, thanks so much for coming. Stay tuned for more Lunch and Learn. Hope to see you here on Wednesday. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Francisco.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Francisco. Good job.
All right, thanks.